program. On the line with us is our old buddy Andy Kroll, the reporter with ProPublica. He used to be the Washington bureau chief for Rolling Stone. He's the author of A Death on W Street, The Murder of Seth Rich and the Age of Conspiracy. You can find his work over at ProPublica.com these days, on Twitter at ProPublica or at Andy Kroll, K-R-O-L-L. Andy, great to have you back with us. Thanks for joining us. This amazing piece about the 14 hours of video that you all discovered. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so, your audience, Tom, has probably heard a decent amount at this point about Project 2025, this playbook plus blueprint plus kind of administration in waiting that's been put together by a bunch of conservative think tanks, some MAGA activists and operatives. It's based out of the Heritage Foundation here in Washington. What's gotten the most attention with Project 2025 so far is its 900-page policy document laying out what the next Republican president, obviously that would be a Donald Trump presidency, what that administration should do on policy if they got elected. Now, what's gotten less attention is that Project 2025 also has an entirely different pillar of its work, where it is recruiting, training, and vetting thousands of people who could be political appointees that would go and work inside a Trump administration if Donald Trump wins in November. And so part of that massive workforce personnel training plan are a huge trove of videos, which we were provided by a source and that we reported on for this story. And the videos are fascinating watching. They cover some pretty extreme policy proposals. They kind of convey the wisdom, lessons learned, learning from your mistakes from people who were in the first Trump administration. And some of the videos are just a really sort of nitty-gritty nuts and bolts education in how the federal government works and how to navigate in the federal government if you are trying to put in motion a very conservative policy and political agenda.
Now, Trump has been trying to back away from Project 2025 pretty enthusiastically, pretty aggressively, because, obviously the more we learn about it, the more people are just horrified by it. But my understanding is that 29 out of the 36 speakers on the videos that you guys watched, and thank you for watching them so we don't have to, that 29 out of the 36 were actually Trump people.
Yeah, that's right. There is this claim out there that the Trump campaign and Donald Trump himself have repeatedly made that Project 2025 has nothing to do with Donald Trump, his campaign, his political operation. On the face of it, before we published our story about these videos, as well as, by the way, all 14 videos in their entirety on our website, ProPublica.org. But before we did that, there were all kinds of connections between Donald Trump and Project 2025. These videos just underscore the depths of those connections and the fact that those connections are not just that Donald Trump, say, flew on a private jet with the head of the Heritage Foundation, which is the driving force behind Project 25. Not just that Trump in 2022 gave a speech at a Heritage Foundation event praising all the work that Project 2025 and Heritage were doing. The videos that we published, which were not meant to be public, they were meant to be private training videos that we published. The videos contain all of these speakers. They show all of these speakers who have worked in every corner of the federal government under Donald Trump during his presidency. We're talking about the Justice Department, the Interior Department, Health and Human Services, the White House, the National Security Council, the Office of Management and Budget, the Presidential Personnel Office. I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to waste your time, Tom. But this is Project 2025, and these videos are the collected teachings, wisdom, advice, prescriptions of Trump-connected individuals, alums of his first administration. They just expose in greater relief the lie that is Donald Trump saying he has nothing to do with Project 2025.
Have you guys put together a highlights reel? I looked and I didn't see one, but maybe I missed something where, for the media, where you've got, little 20 and 30 second clips that could be played from these things.
Yeah, we did a little bit of that in the main story. There are 4 or 5 short clips that correspond with the quotes. But if you have viewers out there who are handy with video editing software and they want to go through and do a super cut of the Project 2025 videos,
yeah, I think we
would
really
love
cool.
to see it.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Let's talk about some of the specifics that these people are suggesting, where they're talking to each other and they're getting very serious about exactly how to do it. Your discretion, pick some of the things that you think might most cause people to raise their eyebrows, and tell us what they're saying.
Sure. Well, here's the first obvious one. There is a moment in one of these videos where a former Trump official, while she is talking about climate change and essentially saying that climate change is either exaggerated or fake, she gives this advice to anyone watching the video, which again are people who are potential future political appointees, people who are doing the day-to-day work of a future Trump administration. She tells these viewers that they should, quote, eradicate, end quote, every reference to climate change in federal government documents that they encounter if they're serving in government. Eradicate all climate change references. So that's a pretty radical.
That's what Ron DeSantis did down in Florida, isn't it?
It is what Ron DeSantis did down in Florida. And, that is not helping Florida grapple with the very real, undeniable effects of climate change. Florida, of all states, should be taking it seriously.
This has got to be an homage to Charles Koch and his fossil fuel buddies, I would think.
Well, it's just emblematic of a conservative movement that is funded by fossil fuel titans like the Kochs, funded by climate denier organizations, and has spent the last 20 to 30 years sowing doubt about the very grave reality of climate change and trying to sap out any urgency to tackle that issue. You're talking about eradicating the word itself. I mean, you're getting into a sort of borderline Orwellian kind of situation when you're actually talking about removing even just the words themselves from government documents.
I don't think it's borderline at all. But you were going to move on to another example.
Yeah, well, abortion rights are a big issue in the 2024 election. Donald Trump is trying to walk this very uneven line of not alienating his MAGA base, which some of whom want a national abortion ban outright, but also the sort of majority of voters who are abhorred by feel that policy is abhorrent and oppose it. In these videos, you have a speaker who describes abortion straight up as murder and says that the left uses these code words like reproductive health to distract the American public from the reality that, and again, quoting her, that abortion is quote unquote murder. And so if you want to know about the kinds of messages that are being taught to future Trump appointees on the question of abortion, well, you've got it right there, and about as black and white as you could possibly get it.
I'm assuming that they don't go so far as to talk about banning birth control, although numerous Republicans around the country have gone there in the last 6 months or so.
Birth control doesn't come up in the videos, but you see the rhetoric around this issue, obviously, on the campaign trail and in the words of other candidates and activists out there. You also see it in the Project 2025 policy playbook as well. There's a lot more in there about access to reproductive health care and things like mifepristone, for instance. So you combine what's in that document, what's in these videos, and it's a pretty draconian vision for reproductive rights.
Yeah, they want to block everything except Viagra. I get it. Andy, as a reporter, who I have tremendous respect for you. We've talked many times over the years, and you're just brilliant. And I'd like to get your thoughts on something. The Iranians, apparently, if the story is true, hacked into at least Roger Stone and possibly some other people in the Trump campaign, and released this Oppo research on J.D. Vance and apparently also on Marco Rubio. And when the Russians did this 8 years ago, everybody took the data and just publicized it. Now we learn that Politico, the Washington Post, and the New York Times all have these hundreds of pages of documents of nasty stuff on these people, and they're saying, well, it wouldn't be appropriate to publish it because it came from a hostile government. I'm curious your thoughts on the the hypocrisy or the elevation of standards. You know, I suppose you could characterize this in two different ways. And, you know, how long can they keep this stuff under wraps?
It's a really interesting situation, and the echoes with 2016 are so real that they almost kind of give me goosebumps a little bit. I mean, I covered that campaign just like you did, and I remember sort of feeling out in real time, how do we navigate this situation? You know, what I've come to believe, or what we believe at ProPublica, is that people come forward to you with information all the time, and you have to, they come forward to you with information, and getting in the business of trying to divine your sources' motives, divine the backstory of the material that they've given you, how they got it, things like that. That is not foremost what matters.
It seems like a rabbit hole
to us as journalists. Yeah, I mean, and people will bring you newsworthy information potentially that they've obtained in ways that the journalists can't do, and you know, there are very clear ethical guidelines there. What we do at ProPublica, and what I think news organizations have to do everywhere, is answer two questions. Number one, is this information authentic? Is it true? Mm-hmm. Can you verify it? Can you check it with the people?
Right. And this stuff has been authenticated now.
It has been authenticated. That's exactly right. And then the second question is it newsworthy? Mm-hmm. It could be real, but, you know, doesn't really matter. It's it doesn't rise to the level of a news story. But is it newsworthy? You know, in the case of our story here, the source came to us with these videos. We communicated with the source. We did all of the work that we needed to verify them, authenticate them, fact check them. And then we watched them all. I watched them all. Yeah. And decided, there's news in here. Yeah. What I don't understand, we have not received this information. I haven't, at least. Right. And I don't know if this second question has been satisfied yet. It's a little curious.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That the first question has been answered, but the second one is outstanding.
Yeah, we're out of time here. Andy Kroll, a great reporter over at ProPublica.com, or .org, excuse me. Thank you, Andy.